Yeah, I want to turn and talk to you about this truth about President Trump and the coronavirus. But I'm going to start with an observation. I'm on social media kind of all the time. I mean, I'm reading. I read a lot to be ready for the show every day, to be ready for my speaking engagements, to be ready for the kind of calls I get quite often. I try to stay very, very informed. I think it's like my job. It is my job. And so I read a lot in social media, and one pattern I want to mention before I dive into really talking about how Trump is handling the virus is to say that the same people on social media, the same people, the same national players, the same, kind of more Texas-based, the same people in my social circles, the ones who always hated Trump, the ones who called him out and denounced him over whether or not he releases his income tax information, whether the whole Trump-Russia collusion farce, the whole impeachment disaster of an absurd allegation about the Ukraine, which Trump did nothing wrong, and everyone in the country could see it who was paying attention. But the same people who attacked him on every single issue are now turning to attack him on his handling of the coronavirus. It is wow, isn't this now the latest way? Maybe we can get this guy. Maybe we can get this guy to, have to resign or so damage him in some way that he couldn't possibly win re-election. So there's a lot of negativity out there, and much of it is just the same kind of ugly, nasty noise coming from anti-Trump people that's been coming since the day he won election. An election for which many, many Americans are grateful. But I want to start with, there's a very lengthy timeline that was created by the people at the Center for Security Policy. I believe I have it linked to in my website, but you could go to the website yourself. Center for Security Policy, I think is .com, .org, centerforsecuritypolicy.org, or you can get there by going to securefreedom.org or .com. I think it's a really helpful thing to help you remember, because here we sit in March of 2020 and we're just paralyzed by it, overwhelmed by all the news related to the coronavirus. It's very, very helpful to step back and look at what China did, how long China kept the world in the dark, how long China lied to the world. The fact that among many, many other facts is that as of January 14th of this year, so we're talking, 2 months ago, a little over 2 months ago, you still had the World Health Organization telling the world, making an announcement to the world, don't worry about the coronavirus. Don't worry about it. China says it's not contagious. This is actually the words out of the World Health Organization message to the world. And I'm raising that because right now, the people who just never liked Donald Trump, never want him to win, don't like his agenda, don't like his America First agenda, don't like his Make America Great Again mindset, are trying to plant the seed in the minds of Americans that, this has just been, he's known about it for months. President Trump he blew it. He didn't do this soon enough. He should have done this soon enough. He didn't do this when he should have. It's a constant Monday morning quarterbacking by people sitting home in front of their computers who happen to have never liked Trump and finding some other reason to attack him. One minor correction that people have been saying about him, I just want to be sure to mention, people have been saying, well, President Trump said that the whole coronavirus was a hoax. No, he didn't say that. He didn't say that the coronavirus is a hoax. He didn't say the coronavirus doesn't exist. He was referring to the way the media has tried to turn the entire coronavirus, horrific problem we have in America, around the world, this pandemic, into an attack on him. What's a hoax about what the left is doing is trying to turn the coronavirus problem into a justification to attack Donald Trump. He used the word hoax in that context, but I want to go through a bunch of things about how he really did react. So World Health Organization reassuring us, middle of January, don't worry, China says it's not even contagious. Okay, so China, the lead player in the lying to the world over and over and over. As the end of January, President Trump decided to shut off travel between China and America. His travel thing, many leftists, including Biden, who would be president, has been called it at that time, this is racist, this is xenophobic, this is horrible. I mean, attacks on him, then they had to quick backpedal and say, never mind about that, and try to take their tweets down. But he was attacked for early on responding to it. There were many, many steps along the way where China could have been more forthcoming, could have been more honest, could have told the world, we're kind of having a problem with this, it's not clearing up like we thought it would. But they didn't do that. They both arrested doctors who were trying to report the problem. They made doctors who were reporting the problem sign statements saying that they had been wrong. That the doctors are forced to retract their own statements about the coronavirus. But the Trump administration has been rolling along, dealing with the virus. And what you're seeing now is a lot of people saying, well, if only the Trump administration had, 2 weeks earlier, ordered more masks, ordered more ventilators, done this, done that, everything would be different. And there's a mindset there that is it's troublesome, but it's really good to recognize in the way people who, they aren't just anti-Trump, they're also usually just leftists, and therefore they're leftists who are very anti-religion, anti-God, anti-faith. They don't like the people's faith in God. And when you get to be a leftist to that degree, you end up wanting the government, or in this case, Donald Trump, to be God, fix it all. I mean, I know that might sound absurd to say, but I want you to really think about that. People get frightened, and yes, everyone's concerned about the coronavirus. Everyone wants it to be figured out. Everyone wants the situation resolved. Everybody wants the coronavirus to be, to move on, to be gone. But the idea that somehow all of the world is going to, or all of America is going to blame Donald Trump for every misstep, every death, every, as you sit here today looking back, well, if you'd only done this on this date, not that date, what those people are really saying is they think somehow the government is God and can magically fix everything. So if they aren't fixing everything, it must be the government's fault. But I'm going to hit some more specifics. One big thing that's become a conversation point, and I think it's really important to understand, President Trump has been pushed in news conferences by the media, essentially saying, why don't you more forcefully use the DPA, the Defense Production Act? And to be very clear, the Defense Production Act is a federal law that permits the president to order industries to produce certain things. To say, I know that yesterday you used to make sewing machines or hair dryers, but today you're going to have to make ventilators. So this Defense Production Act required the president through executive order, to say, okay, I am engaging the Defense Production Act. He has done that much. President Trump has said, okay, I'm going to activate this Defense Production Act with the notion that I may use it to get around to certain orders to certain industries to say, I need you to move along. I need you to stop making, widgets over here and instead make masks. So I want to first ask Matthew Wonderful to play a clip from a press conference last night. This is President Trump last night in his press conference related to coronavirus. The question from the reporter, which is in the clip, is her asking about, why aren't you ordering more production via the Defense Production Act? But let me have you hear her question and President Trump's answer. We'll talk about some more.
When it comes to the Defense Production Act, we know that governors across the country all day today were pleading with you to utilize the DPA, saying that they need it specifically for that allocation piece that you mentioned, Mr. Navarro.
Okay.
Why not use it now if that would answer their pleas for help?
Well, we are using it now. The fact that I signed it, it's in effect. But, we're a country not based on nationalizing our business. Call a person over in Venezuela, ask them, how did nationalization of their businesses work out? Not too well. The concept of nationalizing our business is not a good concept. But I'll tell you why. As Peter said, we may have to use it someplace along the chain, but we're getting calls. Here's the beauty of it. If we go out and we want, let's say, masks, we don't know who to call on masks, but Hanes, who makes things of cotton, various elements, lots of things, it's a great company, they called us and they said, we're going to make millions of masks. We got a call today from 3M. There's a big article today, the head of 3M. They're going to make tremendous products, and they're more or less in that business. And if they're not, like for instance, General Motors spoke to us, Ford spoke to us about doing ventilators. The beauty is they're calling us. If you go the national route, nationalization route, we're going to tell a company to make a ventilator. They don't even know what a ventilator is. In the case of one company, they used to make them years ago, and they know how to make them. You know, it's a very complex piece of equipment, frankly. So what we're doing is, I think Peter said it maybe better than anybody's going to say it. We have the threat of doing it if we need it. We may have to use it somewhere along the supply chain in a minor way. But we have millions of masks being done. We have respirators. We have ventilators. We have a lot of things happening right now. So just the threat of using it. But using it's actually a big deal. I mean, when this was announced, it sent tremors through our business community and through our country.
You know, I wanted to play that for you because this is an example of something which I've been talking a lot about, how the president is surrounded by advisors, surrounded by people who everybody cares, everybody wants to see the coronavirus go away, everyone wants the best actions to be taken. But that little clip right there says a lot about President Trump. Number one, and a lot about America, and we're talking about how America is reacting to the coronavirus too. Number one, even though apparently the president was getting calls from some governors asking him to use the Defense Production Act to say, look, I'm the governor of X state and our hospitals tell us that we're going to run out of ventilators or run out of masks or run out of some other piece of equipment we need. And so get them made, order them produced. And these governors, I'm not faulting any of them, but I'm getting at the idea that President Trump recognized the danger, the beginning of steps toward what could be a problematic nationalization of American industries by saying, I'm not going to nationalize yet. I'm not going to push this yet. I'm not going to force them. And at the same time, he's talking about the idea that we don't do that in this country, and many businesses are stepping up without having to be asked. And this is one of the things I want to say about America and the goodness of America and the American businesses and the American people. As you heard President Trump say, businesses, corporations are calling the White House, hey, we could make masks. We are capable of this. We can turn them out in whatever numbers they have. The American business spirit, should be so obvious that shouldn't even be surprising, but American businesses actually want America to get through this coronavirus, to have our economy turn back to normal, to have our country safe again. Of course, business owners are calling the White House and saying, hey, we can make masks, we can make ventilators, we're on it, we've gotten started, we're going to step up. This is happening all over the country, and it is a better answer, even in a crisis like this, than the president grasping or grabbing the power he has and ordering companies to produce things. We've only been in the midst of this virus for however long it's been. I think the first case in America was January 15th, something like that. And so we are realizing we've got to step up. We've got companies who can't wait to step up. And I like the idea and the bravery of President Trump to say, you know, we're not going to go, we have to be serious and we have to be on board. We have to solve this. We have to produce what's needed, but we don't have to use coercion. We don't have to go the nationalization route, at least yet. Now, I will say, then this was something that George W. Bush did use the Defense Production Act. Maybe that was the right call then, I don't know. But I do know now what President Trump is saying is, I think the American business spirit, which is all American businesses are people. The businesses have no entity to them except the people who run them, who are Americans, who want America to emerge from this quickly. So the Trump administration is now working with Ford, General Motors, and Tesla, 3 gigantic companies. All of them gave them the go-ahead to mass produce coronavirus ventilators. This is different from forcing them through an order under the Defense Production Act. This is Trump saying, look, these companies are wanting to help. They want to produce ventilators, and we want to work with them, encourage them so we can get this done. There's something about the rightness of President Trump's mindset about America, mindset about what our country is, that inspires him to say, we're not going to go to this panic mode of ordering companies to produce things, because the people that run these companies, they'll step up themselves. There's also a company in, I think it was West Virginia, they have stepped up right away, so they can start, they can produce the drug that is now being touted, the COVID-19 drug that's being touted that will help as a potential treatment, and hydroxychloroquine. The drug is hydroxychloroquine sulfate, tablets already approved by the FDA for the treatment of malaria, lupus, and rheumatoid arthritis. So this company, again, the American people are stepping up. The business community is stepping up. We're going to get ourselves the things we need. The masks, the ventilators, and even the medication now that we're talking has proven successful in getting this. The coronavirus. This, I can't even say the name without looking at it again. The hydroxychloroquine sulfate has been successful in bringing people to recovery, not just staving off or feeling slightly better, recovery, getting over this virus. And so I just think it was a really good moment for President Trump to say, we're going to try to get the American people and the businesses they run to help step up here instead of having the forced production by various companies that he could have done on the Defense Production Act. One last point in this segment, the other things we need to handle this crisis include the testing kits. And we first had testing kits that were first coming along that were going to give an answer between 2 and 8 days. Then there was another one said 8 hours. Now the FDA has approved a coronavirus test that can provide results in 45 minutes. I'm getting at the point in this segment that the government isn't God. Trump is not God, but the American people are coming together to deal with this crisis. Most of the American people, American businesses, the American individuals, the American people are coming together to produce what is needed, to figure out what is needed. Most people are complying with the orders they've been given with respect to closing businesses. I mean, everyone's complying with closing businesses, the social distancing of 3, or now they want to make it 6 feet, the hand washing. The American people are a modern, industrious, intelligent, good people. And so are our industries. And that is how we are responding to the coronavirus. The leftists in this country who dedicate all of their mental energy figuring some way to delegitimize, mock, criticize, or tear down President Trump are not simply, it's not even good enough just to say, well, they're always leftists and never like President Trump. These people are hurting things. These people are actually hurting our country. These people who spend all their time criticizing Trump, criticizing how he's reacting, criticizing how soon he did this, criticizing whether we should have done X, Y, or Z earlier, they're not helping anything. In fact, they're hurting. They're helping to spread fear, helping to spread anger, helping to spread disdain toward the government and the president, helping to spread hatred and fear. It is despicable. This country is coming together. Trump is actually emerging as a fabulous leader in this time of crisis. And all you get from the left is one more mockery, one more argument, one more insidious, obnoxious, ignorant criticism of him. I'm not saying Trump is perfect. I'm not saying our country has handled this perfectly. I'm not saying any country has handled this perfectly. But the American spirit, the spirit of the American people that says we are going to stand up, we're going to fight to protect ourselves, we're going to do what is needed, we're going to be industrious, we're going to be in compliance with the government's telling us to do, all of that spirit is right here. It's right here. It's happening. And President Trump is trying to show that to people. He's celebrating to people. And the people on the left, and frankly, those on the right who fancy themselves too educated, too smug, too self-righteous, too morally superior to ever acknowledge that they have been wrong in their attacks on President Trump, those people are not just unhelpful. They are affirmatively harming our country. They are planting the seeds of anger and suspicion and ugliness in our country, and it is flat out despicable. We're going to go through some more numbers on Thursday's show, I think, this week, but I also want to talk a little bit I want to wait until the testing is ramping up this week. We're going to have some more numbers later in the week. I'll probably get into numbers on Thursday's show, but I want to say for now that we are doing well in this country in getting test kits created. We're having more test kits produced all the time here in Dallas County. You have to meet certain criteria, which I don't happen to meet, but people do. So you have drive-through testing now in Dallas County, and I think all over the country in major cities or cities where they have a problem, drive-through testing, get an answer several hours later. We are stepping up as a country. We're coming together in the same way. We do have to fight coronavirus like we fight other enemies of this country, such as radical Islam. We have to fight this like an enemy, and we are. And the people who are spending most of their time criticizing, lamenting, complaining, and Monday morning quarterbacking need to shut up.